Today is episode number 127, and Kim and I are talking about arched windows.
Yes. And if you are new to Window Treatment Live, which we lovingly call WTF Live, I am Kim from WindowWorks. We are located in New Jersey, and I am joined with my window treatment bestie and colleague, Vita.
My name is Vita Vygovska. I'm the owner of Italia Inc., and we are a window treatment experts located in the Philadelphia area, serving the interior design trade with all things window treatments and related projects.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about the ever so pesky topic of arch windows. We're going to give you a little peek into different ways that we have dressed them. So,
And without further ado, Kim, this is one of your projects.
yes. So this was a project that we did here for a client local to us in Montclair. And it was a very traditional home. So if you're familiar with the Montclair area, there's a lot of historic homes, a lot of homes that are over 100 years old. So this home was no different from that. And she had many arch windows. And she had been living in this home for about 20 years with nothing on these windows. And finally, she decided that she wanted to put something inside the window there, and she didn't want to do any fabric or anything, and she really wanted to do an arch shutter.
Mm-hmm.
So what we did here is this is actually a custom color arch shutter that we did. She had Farrow and Ball paint everywhere, but we weren't able to do Farrow and Ball, but we were able to find a Benjamin Moore color that matched. So what the vendor did here was I actually went online and cross-referenced the colors
Oh,
and
nice.
saw what color from Benjamin Moore kind of matched with the Farrow and Ball color, and we did two strike offs and to pick which one was the best match because all of her moldings were painted in that Farrow and Ball color. So we wanted to just make sure that it looked very seamless.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a really good job of matching the color. Now, this project started pre-COVID, pre the shutdown. So it was kind of unique in the way that we
Mm-hmm.
had to work this out where the strike offs were sent to my house and then I
Oh my
dropped them off to
gosh.
the client's house, and
I
then I
can
had to do a virtual where she'd like hold up the strike offs and we were able to figure out which color worked out best. And then when we were finally able to, when it was safe to go into clients' homes again, Billy and I went to template this arch because
ah.
it definitely needed a template. We weren't going
Mhm,
to even, I know there are some vendors sometimes that will
mhm,
say, like, a template isn't needed, but I don't know.
mhm.
We're just very old school in that sense, especially when it's a
Me too,
specialty
me
shape.
too. I can't imagine anyone doing anything without a template that has a shape like this. I just
Yeah.
can't.
Like you're just like, okay, you're taking it to chance, especially like this is one of those like perfect arches. It's not like where you have like a stop and start where there's like the straight leg arch and so with this, it was just like, you know what? We're just better off getting a template here. And one of the concerns too was because the whole window niche was also an arch, could could the doors open? Would they get stuck? This, that, and the other thing,
Right.
because it is an inside mount. We did
Uh-huh.
go, it has a hanging strip behind, but it is an
Okay.
inside mount shutter. So that frame that you see there, that's actually the window frame of the actual window. It's not any kind of shutter
Ah,
frame.
okay,
So
okay.
we, yeah,
'Cause it
so
looks
we,
very substantial, so I thought actually it was the actual frame that you had to order with the
yeah,
shutter.
no, no, no. So that's because again, it's a 100-plus-year-old house. They did go into all that detail with the molding.
Mhm,
So that was the challenge of that's why we needed to get a custom color that was very close to
mhm,
what her moldings were painted because we did the arch windows in the primary bedroom and then did just regular shutters in her primary bathroom and closet that
mhm,
again that she had all the moldings painted these custom colors and everything else. So
mhm.
but yeah, but this is how it turned out. We did two doors. We did, she didn't, again, because it is a traditional home, she didn't want a large louver, so we
Okay.
did a
Yep.
1.5-inch louver there, and
Oh, little
especially,
guy. Mhm.
yeah, the 2.5 I think would have been a little too massive there, especially once you got to the, like, top of the arch.
Yeah.
And then again with the front tilt bar, and, if you see there, you see, like, there's, like, a thicker louver there that we did, like a lock rail, or so that this way the bottom half of the window of the shutter door rather could function independently from the top half, and when she wanted to have her privacy, then she can close up the bottom half of the shutter and still have the top half open.
Yeah, so you guys, this was a lot of information on
Mhm,
shutters specifically. And if you are interested in shutters, Kim and I did record a couple of
mhm,
episodes. So I invite you to go back through our library of episodes. And our library can be found on windowworksnewjersey.com or vitaliainc.com. If you go back through the archives, you can find any topic that you're particularly interested at any point. And if
mhm,
at this point you're like, ooh, so much information about shutters, how do I get more? This is where you can get more information. For the purposes of this episode, we wanted to concentrate on the different ways of treating the arched windows. And one of our first example happens to be a shutter. So of course, we
mhm,
had to tell you information about shutter. Um, but if it got too overwhelming or too much, or just simply not enough and you want more, then windowworksnewjersey.com or vitaliainc.com is where you can get to the archive of all of our shows. All right.
very good. Uh,
And
Here we go. You got it.
I think I do.
Okay. Cool. All right. And just a quick commercial break. So, if you are new to window treatments, whether you're an interior designer or a homeowner, and you're just starting to dip your toe when it comes to dressing your windows and you just don't know where to start, head on over to the WindowWorks website. Luann wrote an ebook, Architectural Digest is Incoming 10 Things You Need to Know About Custom Window Treatments. It's really like a window treatment 101 guide where we break down all the different topics of window treatments out there. So yeah, get your free copy on our website today.
All right, so this next project is something that we recently installed. This picture, of course, is the before picture. The project was on the main line. There were two interior designers associated with it who we helped. It was Jen Roll and Karen Sloan. This is the new addition to the carriage house, and you can see on the side we have a window that has an arch shape. And here is how we decided to treat it. So we decided to have drapery panels, functional drapery panels installed on the outside of the window and above the arch.
Mhm.
It was important. Here's another view of the same window. It was important to this customer that the draperies functioned and that they closed. There were two rooms side by side. Both of these rooms had these arched windows. One of the rooms was a bedroom. So it was important, particularly in the bedroom, to have that, if not a blackout, then at least privacy
Mhm.
operational effect. And because we had that in one bedroom, the other room, the little living room, was directly opposite, and the two arch windows were directly opposite. So it was very important to the client to keep them as coherent, cohesive, and symmetrical as possible. So we wanted to add the grandeur to this whole look. We wanted to add beauty and texture. All of that can be fulfilled and done via fabric. This was a really sweet hardware from, I believe, United Supply Metals. And the whole thing turned out to be very, very nice. What do you think, Kim?
I like the way that you dress these windows. I always, where we can put a drape, I want to put a drape type of thing. And where in this situation where you didn't have to deal with, you had a pretty open ceiling above the
Mhm.
arch window, where oftentimes I know that we've been in situations where a client wants to do drapes over an arch, but the ceiling line is like this.
Right. It's like, right. So you can't. Yeah.
You can't. So it's like right there and it
Like
follows it.
think of a
So
dormer, right? If it's like a
yeah.
dormer, but I mean, it couldn't doesn't necessarily have to be, but when it's like this arch situation, slanted roof situation, and the
Yes.
arch is inside it, you cannot go on the outside of the window.
There's no way to do it. So I love it when you do have a situation where the roof line isn't impacting what you're doing there, and it really gives the ability because as if you are you know, a watcher of Window Treatment Friday Live, you know that Vita and I always like to go up, up, up with the window treatments.
Up we go.
And if you're new to our show, we like to put the rod up above the molding and really add height to the space.
Mhm.
So yeah, I really think I love the way that you were able to dress it. Now, are the panels able to um, stack a little tighter so you see more of the arch?
Yep, we can.
Yeah.
This particular picture was taken like that, but they can either stack super tight off to the side
Mhm.
and pretty much the entire window's shown, or they can close completely.
Yeah, and those are all kind of conversations that you have to have with the designer or with the client because a lot of times when there are arch windows involved, I don't know, you tell me, Vita, a lot of clients I find are very emotionally attached to the shape of the
Well,
arch.
definitely because they've just
Mhm.
spent a lot of money on the
Yeah.
arch shape, otherwise they would have put in a regular square or rectangular window. But
Or
you get
they
a window that is twice or, three times the amount, they want to show it off.
right, right. So that or they inherited the window or whatnot. I know that
That's
when
true.
when my cousin was building his house, I specifically told the architect, "No arch windows, thanks."
Thank you very much. I know. They're a little bit of a pain in the butt.
Yeah, yeah,
Or a lot of a
especially
pain in the
yeah,
butt.
I mean, like, if you these 2 examples were like, "Wow, it worked out, we were able to fit something in there," but then you get into some where you're just like, "I don't know what we're putting
Like,
there."
it's just crazy. I know.
Yeah.
I hear you. Anyway, you guys, another quick commercial break here. What I wanted to let you know that if you go to our website, vitaliainc.com, there's a free, wonderful gift awaiting there for you. It is a curated lookbook filled with inspiration and education. We call it 37 and a half window treatment ideas for you to swipe, steal, and use immediately on your next design project. So if you're looking for either arch window inspiration or
Mm,
straight or doors or whatever it is that you want to have for your library of images, you can get it in our lookbook.
okay. So this is a project that we, did for a retail client up in Bergen County. And I was saying to Vita before we jumped on the live and we were going over the presentation, this is like not one of my favorites. And I'm going to go through all the reasons why it's not one of my favorites. But ultimately, when you are designing window treatments for a client, at the end of the day, my philosophy here at Window Works and our philosophy really is you have to do what the client wants because it's their home and they have to look at it and smile. It's not, and and within reason, unless it's something completely crazy that's not going to look right,
Mhm.
then we will put our foot down and say, no, we'll put a little sign next to your window that said Window Works did not want you to do this. Um,
A plaque.
yes. But in a situation like this, the client did not want to cover the arch. She wanted to still to see out of the arch. So like what I was saying in the first example, that was like more of like a perfect arch. This is more of like an extended arch
Mhm.
where
We
you
call it
have
an
the
eyebrow arch.
or an eyebrow, yeah, like an eyebrow extension because it
Mhm.
has, the extended sides.
Mhm.
So she really wanted she wanted a Roman shade because she wanted the privacy. This client has a really great backyard and she hosts a lot of her family members over the summer, and her primary bathroom overlooks this backyard, and she just wanted her privacy of when she would be in the bathroom, the flexibility to lower the shade, but she did not want to cover that arch. So this was the compromise where we were able to fit a Roman shade inside mount. We went with a standard cord lock so we could get it in as flush as possible,
Mhm.
and so yeah, so we just did a standard rectangular Roman that when it comes down, the Roman covers the bottom half of the window
Yep.
and you still can see. It's almost like doing like a top down, bottom up, if you will, but you're just sticking it in the middle
Yeah.
of the window.
So tell our listeners why this is not your favorite project and how you would have done this differently.
I would have covered the arch with the fabric and made it an arch top Roman shade. It just feels like to me, there's no like to have those couple of inches showing, you know,
It's like not worth it in a way.
it's not
And it just
worth
kind of like
it.
chops it off, and like the top little thing is sort of independent from the bottom big thing and feels disjointed, right?
Yeah, and I feel like it looks almost as if like we had this Roman shade left over from another project or we moved it from another space and it just happens to fit, so let's just put it in. Like that's and you know, I went through all these things in these scenarios and I drew it out for my client. I took a picture
Mm,
of the window and like just drew a box and just colored it in and was like, this is what it's going to look like. Are we sure that we
mhm,
want to go down this route and
mhm,
not do like an arch top Roman? And she
mhm.
said, no, this is what I want to do. And I said, okay. So I knew that we could ultimately pull it off. That's why I didn't, you know, keep pressing back on it. But it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's not my favorite. It's like when you leave a transom window open sometimes. It's like, come on,
Right, right,
just
right. Not
cover
my
it.
favorite either. I think it
Yeah.
just becomes very disjointed and choppy. But you know what? At the end of the day, you go back to your policy of WindowWorks and your value system. And the value
Mm.
system says as long as the customer is happy within like certain, reason, we don't want to do anything that is unsafe. We don't want to do anything that is just like so downright completely wrong and 100% that they would hate it. But in this was, it's a difference of opinions, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but it's her
No,
home.
yeah. I mean, and believe me, if I think it's going to not work or function or look really, really bad, I'll flat
Mhm.
out tell a customer, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
It's going to look like this. We're going to put it up. You're going to hate it. And then you're going to look at me and go, why did you let me do this?
right. Yeah, there's definitely some of that for sure. Go
All
ahead.
right. So, our next little commercial break that we have here is if you are new to Window Treatment Friday live, this stemmed from Luann's podcast, where Luann and Vita would, on a well designed business, would discuss the business side of window treatments. So Vita and I decided through the quarantine and the lockdown to create a live version of Window Treatment Friday. So you can head on over to Luann's website, luannigara.com, where you can listen to previous episodes of the audio version or more of the business side of the window treatment industry. And you could also keep up with all things Miss Luann because she has a lot of really cool things happening in the new year. I have kind of a little bit of a preview. I can't share, but I know a lot of cool things are coming down the pipeline. And not only does Luann have her well designed business podcast, but she also has another podcast, Window Treatments for Profits. And Vito, why don't you let everybody know about Window Treatments for
Yeah.
Profits?
So the Window Treatment for Profit is a new podcast that Luann started about 6 months ago, if you guys are listening to this in real time. And I have the privilege and honor to be a recurring guest host on one of the series of this podcast. It's called Vita's Tip in 10. It airs every Thursday. So for 10 minutes, I give you a short and small, but oh so mighty tip on how to improve your window treatment business. So, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to subscribe and download and have me in your ear every Thursday. All right, this is one of our projects from Vitalia Inc., and this is what you wanted to do for that other lady.
Yes. Look how much better that looks.
More cohesive, more complete, more coherent, more together. This project was done for a wonderful designer here in the Philadelphia area for whom we do a lot of work. Her name is Anita Householder. Her company is House Edits. Please follow her on @House Edits on Instagram. This is actually, I believe, her personal house too. And these were arched Roman shades. So just like you would do a straight Roman shade, instead of having a board across, you just have the board at the top and you have it in the arch shape. Now, I say just, nothing is ever just in the window treatment industry. It's all very well thought through and templated in this case. The top portion of the Roman shade, the arch portion, stays completely unfunctional. So it
Mhm.
stays, what's the word I'm looking for? Stationary. That's
Stationary.
the word. Yep. So we have the dust cap that is curved at the top, and then we have kind of like a little cornice in the back of that shade.
Mhm.
And there's also a dust cap that is straight. So the actual mechanism is attached to the dust cap that is straight. So it's only the rectangular portion of the Roman shade that moves up and down, with the arch portion stationary, staying nicely fit, snug inside there. So we do these Roman shades. I wouldn't say like a lot because there's not a ton of arch windows out there, but when we can, when we have a situation like that, when the window is deep enough also, we do try to have the arch covered so that it's just all nice, kind of complete, cohesive look here. So I know she was very happy, and so were we.
What's so funny is as we're sitting here talking about arched top Roman shades, I'm looking at a template that's taped to my island right now for an arched top
For an
Roman
arch top.
shade.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so okay, so let's talk to folks here a little bit about the different type of mechanisms that we can do with an arch top Roman, because I know that you we typically will do that board that goes straight across because you need somewhere for the mechanism, whether
Mhm.
it's clutch. Do you ever do cordless on
Sure. I
arch
mean, I
Romans? Yeah.
think, right, because you can really add any mechanism. It could be
Yeah.
cord lock, continuous loop cord, motorized,
Motorized.
um, cordless, because really it, because of that board that is across, it's behind the fabric and it just goes straight across. You can add whatever you want and whatever budget allows and whatever the customer wants. The only difference here is that at the top there is a cornice, essentially an arched top cornice that is covered in the same fabric as the shade. Now they're not two separate pieces, it's all one piece. It's just behind the party
Right.
is where you have the boards that are arched and straight, and all the mechanisms are behind there.
Now, with was there, now the way that these windows are configured, was there an actual clear cut like mullion piece that you lined your backboard to, or you theoretically ended your back cornice to?
Say that again. Ask me that in a different way.
So like, okay, so like you see how like windows have mullions, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So a lot of times with the arch,
Oh,
there's
I
like a
see.
clear
Uh-huh.
mullion line, and I,
Yeah.
because visually from outside, because it's when you're dealing
Yeah.
with, like, at least when I attack a Roman shade, I
Hmm.
not only attack it from the interior, but like what is it going to look like from the outside? Like we try to
Yeah.
line up that board
Yep.
with some kind of mullion piece so that this way
Yeah.
it's not like it doesn't look so
Yeah.
crazy
I
from
hear you.
both the inside and the outside. Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. I'm not exactly sure what we did in this situation, but the question that you're asking is very, very smart. And you guys should think about what it looks like in the back. In the front, though, something to think about: if you bring the cornice down to, let's say, the first mullion, but it's beyond, lower than the arch on the inside of the house, then just remember that that operational portion of the shade starts lower than the arch. See what I'm
Right.
saying? So for us, I'm pretty sure we ended that dust cap on which the lift system is attached to along the arched points, whether it
Right.
aligned with the back mullion or not.
And for us, like we did an arched Roman where the designer wanted to use a very semi-sheer fabric,
Yeah. Okay.
and she did not want that cross
Yeah.
bar.
Like that
So
crossbar that is not aligned with something that already is a crossbar.
right, because this particular arch in the primary bathroom and the closet and the sitting room in this, basically the whole primary suite had just very, it was just fixed glass, fixed
Mhm.
glass window, and there was no like straight mullion piece to line it up to.
I
So her
got you.
concern was having this bar that you could see um, through the sheer fabric.
Sure.
So
Sure.
so
I get that.
what we did there is we went back and forth with the workroom, and it's very old school, but it can be done, where it was just like a cord and cleat, where you're able to, the shade actually functions, but there's no actual locking mechanism.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
just
I know.
you have the cleat like mounted inside your window frame, and then you have to wrap the cord around the cleat.
Mhm.
But by doing that, then there was no interrupted view. It was
Mhm.
just very pretty, very soft. And there was, again, multiple conversations with the
Mhm.
designer and her client to be like, look, we're going for pretty
Yep.
here. We're not going for functional. And it
Yep.
was the primary bathroom that faced the front of the house. So the client was like, the likelihood that I'm pulling this up and down like this every day is
Yeah.
at a zero. I just want it to just, if even if I pull it up a couple folds, it's not, I get it. But from like a look and an aesthetic standpoint, and then also from the outside, it just looked like a regular Roman shade. You didn't have that cross member that went across and having to do a back valance to
Right.
cover it and the whole thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. You guys, what Kim was talking about is instead of having that straight dust cap in the back onto
mhm,
which the mechanism is attached, she's saying get rid of that dust cap altogether, run the cords along the inside of the arch, and then
mhm,
there's no actual mechanism. It's just the cords. You lift it by the cord and you secure it on the side with a cleat. That's why
yeah.
she's saying it's an old-fashioned way of doing it. That's how they did it a few years ago. Since then, we do have all these different mechanisms, but then you have to figure out what's more important to you.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it's especially like because it was a very lightweight semi-sheer fabric, that
Hmm.
seeing that line go across, it just
Right. It, it,
it
it
would
wouldn't have worked.
no. All right. Well, that concludes today's episode on arched windows. Before we let you go, just a couple of things. If you are located in the New Jersey, New York area, and you have arched windows that you're just not quite sure on how to dress them or where to even start, please give us a call here at Window Works, or send us a DM. We would be happy to help you on your next arched window treatment project.
And if you are in the Philadelphia area, then please give us a call. Vitalia Inc. Window Treatments is a one-stop, your go-to resource, your white glove and concierge level service exclusively for luxury interior designers ready to fly first class in your window treatment projects. So we're happy to help you and have you back on whatever you need. Kim, this was a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you, everybody. And we hope that you join us next week, because if it's Friday,
It's WTF Live. Not that kind of WTF, my friend. It is Window Treatment Friday Live. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great weekend.
bye.